There you are, Elizabeth. My God, you are proof that there is power in the writing instrument because you are bringing the stories of 21 people to the forefront of the nation that does not know about these 21 people.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. What drew you into this storyline? Because I mean, you really are doing something that's powerful. You're continuing this movement, basically.
Yeah. So the federal court case, Juliana versus United States, was filed in 2015. As you said, it's a group of diverse kids from around the country who are facing down the U.S. government in a lawsuit that they hope will save themselves and hopefully the whole planet from the ravages of climate change. So the case was filed in 2015. In 2016, my youngest was in middle school and attended one of the very first hearings of this case. And when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, I'm glad that, young people are finding another way to have their voice heard. But her interest in the case got me interested, and I started to follow it. And it's been ongoing for 8 years, and it's really been a roller coaster ride of, building this constitutional case. So basically, they're arguing that the U.S. Constitution gives us a right to life, liberty, and property. And how can you have life, liberty, and property when you can't breathe from wildfire smoke, right, when you're endangered by massive hurricanes and floods and droughts and fire? And, despite the, legal experts who thought this case was going nowhere, they keep winning. They've been to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals several times and have won. They've been up to the Supreme Court twice, and the court ruled in their favor both times. And they were set for trial in 2018 when the rug got pulled out from underneath them, but they tweaked the original complaint, and they're on their way back to trial again.
Wow.
So it's a case that is ongoing, and I think they're going to get their trial, and I think they're going to win.
These 21 people, the age difference is what shocks me. And what I love most about it is that so many times people say, oh, the younger people don't know. Yes, they do know. This is their planet. And I love the fact that they're standing up for the planet, because look at what we've got right now that we're dealing with. You can't ignore this anymore.
Yeah. So one of the youngest plaintiffs was 8 years old when he joined the lawsuit. He lives in Florida, and he saw a map that showed that his childhood home in Florida was going to be underwater in his lifetime due to sea level rise. Right. And he and his family have twice been evacuated from huge hurricanes whipped up by climate change. So, these kids are in a fight for their lives. We've seen young people take to the streets about climate change. We've heard them talk in the media. We've heard them talk to their representatives. And this takes it to a whole other level. I mean, these young people are going to the courts as another powerful way to speak up and asking the courts to protect their rights to life, liberty, and property, and ask the federal government to stop supporting the fossil fuel energy system.
Wow. I'm from the state of Montana, so to read the story about the girl in Montana, it just blows me away, because I mean, that's not the same state of Montana that I grew up in, and because it's like, what's going on? See, that's how this story is going to affect those who are adults and who are also young readers and activators as well, because it's affecting everybody, because it represents this land that we walk upon.
Yeah. So my book, The 21, is about the federal case. So it's 21 young people who are suing the federal government. There was a really exciting case called Held v. Montana. So that case was brought by Our Children's Trust, which is the same organization that's supporting the young people in the federal case. It was started by Julia Olson. So in that Montana case, as you said, 16 young people who were injured by climate change sued the state of Montana. The lead plaintiff, I think you're talking about Ricky Held. I mean, she testified about trying to save her family ranch from wildfire and coughing and crying, and basically her health and her whole family's livelihood was endangered. And these kids in the Montana case, they went to trial and they were in a courtroom where they testified, and the judge ruled in their favor. The judge in Montana ruled that the kids have a constitutional right to a stable climate. So, I think that Montana case kind of indicates that, the legal tide is really shifting on climate change. The courts may be our last and best hope to save us all, and it's young people who are leading the way, which is really exciting.
When you release the book, The 21, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have readers that are going to be reaching out to you because they want their voice to be heard too. Or better yet, see, the material that we're talking about isn't even making it to the front page of any newspaper or even a website. And so we've got to take it from the 6th page and put it back in the conversation. And they're going to be reaching out to you, Elizabeth, because you have the power of the writing instrument.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that they can do is they can go to Our Children's Trust website. So that's the nonprofit that's supporting all these young people in their legal efforts. They have a section, like a Get Involved section, which has lots of ways to take action. So they can sign, the wall of support for the young people. They can tell the Biden administration to stop blocking the case. The case was originally filed against the Obama administration, was passed on to the Trump administration, now the Biden administration. And the fact of the matter is that, they don't have to oppose this case. The federal government could say that, yes, young people do have a constitutional right to a stable climate. So there are things that people can do right now to support this case and to encourage the Biden administration to settle the case and to get the federal government out of the business of supporting the fossil fuel energy system. Yeah.
I have to shake my head back and forth because it's like this is the kind of stuff that we read about in the Weekly Reader, that if we didn't do anything with the environment, if we didn't clean it up, if we didn't take the time, then these things would be happening. And to hear about these fires and how, I don't even think about the damage that the potential damage that could happen until your book. Because, I'm here in the Carolinas where we have the fires, where we have the hurricanes. It is affecting us down here, but people aren't talking about it. And that's why the 21 is one of those things that will create conversation.
Yes, I really hope it does. I think that we all have a good reason to take climate change seriously. I read recently that, 60 to 70% of Americans have been hit by climate disasters. Yep. And children born now are going to face 2 to 7 more extreme climate events in their lives than adults. So, we need to make these changes, not just for ourselves, but for children now and for children born in the future. Things are just going to get worse. And at the very least, we need to get our government out of the business of, permitting fossil fuel development on public lands, permitting pipelines across public lands, and subsidizing fossil fuels. And just doing that could have a huge impact. 25% of U.S. emissions come from federal public lands. So if these kids win, that could really put a dent in the climate crisis.
Have they ever brought up any of the fracking? Because I know that fracking is huge up in Montana right now because, they say that's not good for the environment as well. And that's fallen out of the headlines.
Yeah, the case, so the federal case and the state case, they don't, rather than kind of pointing at one particular project or one particular fossil fuel fossil fuel source, they're really looking at government behavior. They're looking at government's permitting processes, that they are allowing these fracking and other kinds of environmental projects to go forward without taking into account greenhouse gases and their impacts on kids.
See, and once again, I'm gonna say that we need the power of your writing because when they do this lithium thing that's going to be happening in the next 10 years, if we don't stop it now, then we're in trouble. And so these young voices need to be heard because it needs to inspire other young voices as well.
Yeah, I think that the 21, people always say that kids are our future, but the 21 really shows that the future is now, that young people have the power to change everything right now, and they're doing it, and they're leading the way. And we need to listen, and we need to support them.
Where can people go to find out more about your book, about what you're doing? And I know that you mentioned the website once before with the organization, but we've got to start the footsteps right now.
Yeah, so my website is Elizabeth Rusch, it's RUSCH.com, and I'll be having updates about the case. But I also strongly encourage people to go to ourchildrenstrust.org. You can learn the Montana case. There's another case going to trial in Hawaii. There's the federal case. And cases being filed as we speak. And they can also go to the Get Involved section of Our Children's Trust to learn about how to support the case and to tell the Biden administration to stop blocking the case and to settle and say that, yes, government should get out of the business of supporting the fossil fuel energy system. They should stop using our public lands in a way that is actually endangering and sickening young people and, frankly, all of us.
Yep. Please come back to this show anytime in the future, Elizabeth. The door is always going to be open for you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you very much for doing what you're doing. You be brilliant, okay?
Okay. Thank you.